I'm happy to introduce Will Parish. Will comes from right up the peninsula in San Francisco, where he teaches at Gateway High School. He's also involved with lots of different initiatives on the state level, including being the curriculum commissioner for the State Board of Education. And you can read more about that. We work with Will on some of our Google Earth initiatives as well. So welcome, Will.
All right, thank you very much. There are 18 commissioners with the State Board of Ed, so I'm just one. I'm the chairman of the Campaign Executive Committee, and I'll get to that in one moment. Thank you to Google very much for putting on this opportunity for all of us to learn from one another. I'm going to talk today briefly about technology in my teaching and how it has affected it. I'm an environmental science teacher at Gateway High School in San Francisco. A little bit about my background. I started out not as a teacher, but I graduated from college in '75 and I drove a Jeep around the world. Became an airplane pilot and an instructor and an attorney in 1980 and ran a nonprofit environmental group in the late 80s and developed alternative energy projects in the late 80s and 90s. So I came to teaching in 2002 with a lot of background in business and law. And then in '09, I was appointed by the governor to the Curriculum Commission and became chair of the Education and the Environment Initiative Campaign Committee in 2011. So one of the key important things, I think, as a teacher is to allow yourself to be somewhat vulnerable with your students and develop some sense of fun with them. And I took up rap dancing a while back, and I use that a little bit in my teaching. So I want to start out with something that's kind of a bigger picture item about what teachers make. Many of you might have seen this story or heard this story. I most recently heard it told by Thomas Friedman. And it goes something like this. There was a dinner party, and the guests were sitting around the table discussing life. One man, a CEO, decided to explain the problem with education. He argued this way: what's a kid going to learn from someone who decided that his best shot was to become a teacher? You know, it's true what they say about teachers. Those who can do, and those who can't do, teach. Well, to corroborate his statement, he looked over to one of the guests and said, "Hey, Susan, you're a teacher. Come on, be honest. What do you make?" Right. So Susan had a reputation for honesty. She replied, "You want to know what I make? All right. I make kids work harder than they ever thought they could. And I make kids sit through 40 minutes of study hall in absolute silence. I can make a C+ feel like the Congressional Medal of Honor, and an A- feel like a slap in the face if the student didn't do his or her very best." Susan continued, "I could make parents tremble when I call home or feel almost like they won the lottery when I tell them how well their child is progressing. Gaining speed," she went on. "You want to know what I make? I make kids wonder. I make them question. I make them criticize, apologize, and mean it. I make them write, and I make them read. I make them show all their work in math and hide it all in their final drafts in English." Susan then stopped, cleared her throat. "I make them understand that if you have the brains, then follow your heart. And if someone ever tries to judge you by what you make in money, you pay them no attention." So you want to know what I make? She said, "I make a difference. What about you?" Right, and so there's a lot of misconception about teachers out there in the real wild business world, and this operation and the Google involvement in all of ours and your efforts dispel that notion completely. The idea about teaching with a lot of technology is really, really good and important, but it cannot take the place of really good, solid teaching. And in this example that you're seeing a little video of here, you see my classroom.
Worm ball.
And that's a worm
Nice.
ball. This student had never handled a worm, and we do a lab in the environmental science class on worms. Then we combine that with the super high-tech, this item right here, which is called a MyScope, and we can put it right on the worm and magnify it by 140%, or 140 times rather, and project it onto the screen. So students get the idea very quickly about what the intricacies are in the worm's anatomy, as well as in the whole operation of the life cycle. So the connection between science and the natural environment is a key connection to bring home the importance that science really is relevant, and it makes a difference. So I ask my kids, how tied into you are you with the relevance of science in the natural environment? And so I ask them if they can identify these 12 species or any of them. And I like them to go beyond, well, yes, that's a fish, and instead say, well, that's a sailfish, right? And they fail miserably at the project. Most of them get the robin pretty well. And to bring home the point, I go to the next slide and say, how many of these items can you identify? And they're shocked to realize that they know 99% of all of these icons. So point made in terms of how are kids conditioned today to be learning in the environment in which we live that has become more technological on all levels, and it needs to catch up in the classroom. One of the ways that the technology is catching up and connecting environment to science and to social studies as well is through the Education and the Environment Initiative, which I'm going to talk about just for a couple of moments. This was a law that was passed to say that all kids will be environmentally literate by the time they get out of K-12. And so the curriculum was put together, and it's all online for free in PDFs. And all of these PDFs have extensions with great websites so that teachers can go beyond what just the basic curriculum is. The idea behind it was that we want to be able to reach all 6 million students with this curriculum, and so it is classroom-based. But it invites teachers to, of course, take the kids outside of the classroom as well. So all of the curriculum is available in addition to on DVDs, and it's designed for digital use. So all you need is a computer and a projector. Sadly, that situation is still exists in less than half of our 10,000 schools. But we're getting there. And with more curriculum and available online and more attention given to the digital and the use of technology in the classroom, we'll get there even faster. So these are the environmental topics that are covered in 85 units spanning K through 12. So if you're teaching science and you're touching on any one of these issues, there can be an EEI unit for you. That you can touch, so that as you're not teaching just science, but science in connection to the environment. The material is beautiful. It has been all created with a joint venture with National Geographic, and so all of the graphics, the maps, the pictures have been prepared through National Geographic. And it's very easy to use. You have the teacher's masters and the teacher's edition, and it walks you through every single little step. So no matter if you are familiar or not with the material, you can quickly go through the procedures, or more slowly if it's the first time that you've used it. It's very cost effective. It's not textbook based, and the idea for you see the student workbook, that's the only piece that is the consumable. The rest of these materials a teacher can use multiple years in a row. So it's the only state curriculum that's been approved by the State Board of Ed covering environmental topics. The idea is not to add to the teacher's burden, but to replace what they have been teaching. It's all standards-based. So whenever you're required to teach a science standard, you can quickly find out if there is an EEI curriculum for that particular standard and spend 2 or 3 or 4 classes teaching that same standard. The assessments are included, the keys are included, everything is included. And it answers that question. A student often asks me, what do I care about the chemistry of the atom or whatever. And it really stimulates interest in science, connecting students to the environment. And the students love it, and the teachers love it. You can see from these quotes that the comparison to textbook learning is that students far prefer learning from the EEI. EEI works hand in hand with a lot of other tools. For example, Google Earth. You're going to hear a lot more about Google Earth from an expert. I'm merely a very novice practitioner. And to demonstrate being a novice, we'll go over here to Google Earth. But it's so great to be able to have my Google Jet in class when I'm talking about science or the environment, because I can say, okay, we're going to start up here at, what are we at? 395,000 miles high. And the unit that I use this particular example I'm about to show you is the water unit. So we've just had a nice science lab about water and the properties of water and cohesion and surface tension and adhesion. And then we bring it around to, well, where does the water fall in California? 2/3 of it falls in the north. Where do the people live? 2/3 of the people live in the south. Well, what do we do about that? And the kids struggle. So the whole idea, again, with the EEI and the manner in which we're all teaching is inquiry-based. And we look at a map of California to see how this could be accomplished. And then at the kind of the end of it, we say, okay, well, let's see what California engineers actually did. So let's go take a look. You've all driven down I-5. Have you noticed those cement rivers filled with water? Well, that's how the water gets from the north to the south. And so in the Google Jet, we can fly right down here to, we're 700 feet high now, and we can point that out. And the kids will say, well, what about the hills? So then I click on the next little one, and my Google Jet takes us up pretty high, and then zooms us down to a terminus of one of the aqueducts, which happens to be near Grapevine Mountain. This is just south of Bakersfield. And the students say, oh my God, it goes through the mountain. And then I say, well, let's go look at the other side. And we can fly right over the mountain, come down the other side, and all of a sudden these students don't have just this theory about water traveling, but they see it actually in action from a bird's eye perspective. And we go much further into it and talk about what do you suppose the engineering challenges were to get that water there? How much water do you think flows? How does a CFS, 30,000 CFS translate into your, 0.001 CFS coming out of your faucet? So there's all sorts of things like that we can do. Okay, that's it on Google Earth. It's a fantastic tool. I love it. And you're going to hear a lot more about that. So this is another example of a technology that one of my chemistry friends uses. And I say, okay, kids, let's go a building. And they say, what should we build first? And so we'll just put a neutron there, and we'll put a proton here. Oh, it's unstable. Oh, look what we just built. Well, but there's no electrons, so yes, that's an ion, right? And so then we can put the electron, does it go in the outer valence? No, it goes on the inner one. And then we click over here, and I'm running through this very quickly, as you can see. But the chemistry teacher can then navigate the entire element field table and build all sorts of atoms and talk about the significance of every one of them. Okay, with 2.5 minutes to go, we did that. I wanted just to touch a moment about connecting kids again to what they're interested in and having technology be in the classroom. There is so much good stuff that is coming out, being available for the iPhone and other smartphone apps that I am saying, don't turn your phone off, turn it on. If I catch you texting, I will stomp on it. But if you're using it to do some inquiry-based stuff that is in line with what we're teaching, then you get some extra bonus points. So I don't know how many of you are aware of these apps, but when we're talking about, there's the one in the middle called Seafood Watch, and when we're talking about the conditions of the oceans, we can go on there, and I teach the kids when you go and with your parents to buy food at the fish market, ask where it comes from. Is it longline caught? Is it caught in nets? And then all of these others, the Academy Insider, that's the California Academy of Sciences, a lot of tutorial stuff on there, and they can actually take it into the Academy of Sciences and have a very rich experience moving around. So, to wrap things up, I will just turn back to the big picture for a moment, saying get involved in your school, start clubs, like I started Team Green, apply for grants. There's a lot of money out there if you can find somebody in the school to help you write one. I've received grants from ING and NEED and PG&E and others. And finally, don't be afraid to show your lighter side. Where's the volume?
What a pregnant situation. What about love? Canal and Chernobyl. Oil spills, the damage is global. What about the chemicals? Are we insane? Dichloro, diphenyl, trichloroethane, and aromatic hydrocarbon. This is no
Do you think I can still do it?
Atom, sodium, beryllium, plutonium, sulfur, nitrous oxide, dimethyl ethyl chloride, chlorofluorocarbon, that ozonating hog, tropospheric ozone, also known as smog, insecticide, pesticide, fungicide, herbicide, PCB, DDT, CFC. All these deadly elements are bad for you and me.
Yes, that was me doing the dancing and writing the lyrics as well. Because another important thing is the cross-curricular kind of a thing. So we bring poetry into the science as well. So with that, I want to thank Google very, very much. And it's been a pleasure to be here this morning. I look forward to the workshop with whoever is there this afternoon. Thank you.